Welcome back, everybody. Dave the Gamer here. Today we're looking at the best in slot for Druid healing. Now, some would argue, they're a little bit further down the tier as far as healing for the fact that a lot of times they're not even able to use their dots. Depending on how hardcore your guild actually is, there is a buff limit, which for tanks and stuff and tanks rogues, they can get pretty damn close, if not hit the buff limit. So to be able to put a dot on and knock off a buff, it's just not going to happen. And their outright healing is no match for a regular priest or something else. But they do have lots of great stuff as far as innervate and bringing people back to life during an actual fight encounter. So they are important to bring to the guild. And I want to go over their best possible in slot for phase 5 that you can get. I'm also going to talk about 2 alternatives that you can get while you wait on these best in slot. Obviously, the best in slot, at least most of the healers are going to be gunning for some of these big pieces like the amulets, the rings, the trinkets, stuff like that. And I'm not going to be covering every single alternative. So I apologize if I do miss a couple of them. There's tons of great alternatives. I really just wanted to highlight what is their best in slot and then just some other things to check out along the way. So starting off the helmet, the crystal. So the crystal is actually got off one of the world dragons here, which is a massive headpiece. 92 raw healing. Okay, that is just insane for a healing piece. Obviously, some great alternatives from AQ. You can get the Lost Hat, 64, but 11 mana per 5 seconds. So if you start to struggle on mana, you can substitute some of these different pieces that are going to give you mana per 5 seconds that help out a ton. So another one from the Hinterlands is the Growth Cap. If you're doing World Dragons, this one, great. Mana struggling. Even this one is even better, I would argue, than the Lost Hat. The 1% crit's not terrible. So there's some great alternatives for the headpiece. Now for the Amulet, this is where everybody's going to be fighting for it. The best in slot, the Amulet of the Fallen God. 57 healing, 6 mana per 5 seconds. Now there's definitely some great alternatives. Out of AQ 20, you get the Amulet of the Shifting Sands. As you could see, you lose a little bit of mana overall, a little bit of HP. Still respectable. You might be able, as a druid, not being the #1 healer in some people's eyes, they'll probably give you the Shifting Sand, and you're going to have to wait a while for the Fallen Gods. So you got the Shifting Sand. You have Jindu's out of ZG, which is not bad. 44 raw healing. You just lose the mana per 5 seconds. And then also out of AQ, you get the Charm. Not many people are really going to be going for the Charm, just for the fact that everybody wants the Fallen God overall. But out of Silithus, off one of the Lords, this one should be pretty easy to get, especially if you guys are farming rep there. 24 mana or 24 healing, 8 mana per 5 seconds. Once again, like I said, the one out of ZG is definitely going to be better, but if you're struggling with mana, not a bad option to go. Looking at the shoulders, this is nice because it's leather. They're not going to have to really fight with anybody out of this one for healing wise. And it's out of MC. So this is bare minimum. You should definitely be able to get this, and it's your best in slot. 62 healing overall. Huge for shoulders. And then like the next runner up, which is what most of the priest and everybody's going to be getting, is these mantles, which is only 44. So yours is even better, and it's out of MC. So I don't even want to really talk about other alternatives because you'd be crazy not to get this one. Looking at the back, the Cloak of Clarity, another one that everybody's going to be gunning for. You might fall a little bit down the list on this one. A respectable one, the Shroud of Pure Thought, would be a great alternative out of BWL. You should at least be able to get your hands on the Pure Thought cape. And then at very bare minimum, before you even get the BWL, if you're just getting into BWL, and especially if you step into AQ and expect the Cloak of Clarity, and you don't at least have a Hide of the Wild, you're not even going to be a thought. So at bare minimum, buy yourself a Hide of the Wild. Try to get the Pure Thought through BWL, then work your way up to the Cloak of Clarity. Like I said, you might fall down the list a little bit on that one. Another one everybody's going to be gunning for, Robes of the Guardian Saint. 70 healing, 7 mana per 5 seconds. This is a big chess piece here. Now there are some decent alternatives that you can look at, as far as out of Stratholme, you can get 68 healing. So, I mean, almost close in healing, but you do lose the 7 mana per 5 seconds, which is a big drop. As a secondary option for this, the Storm Rage is also pretty nice. I mean, if you look at the 3 set on this, 15% mana regen while casting. So I would recommend, while you are waiting for your complete best in slot list, that you should be interchanging the Storm Rage actual set. You want to maintain that 3-piece bonus pretty much forever. Now, if it's a short burst fight, then you don't got to worry about mana, because it's going to end in 30 seconds, 45 seconds. But for your longer fights, some of the longer ones in AQ that go on for a lot longer, you might need to interchange some pieces. If you know a long fight's happening, throw on some stuff, a little bit less healing power, more mana per 5 seconds. Keep the 3 set, especially like I said, while you're waiting to get all these pieces, you should definitely be keeping the 3 set going at all times. And since you're not going to be high up on the priority for the Robes of Guardian Spirit, this would be a perfect spot to actually put the Storm Rage chest piece in while you wait. Looking at the wrist, Bracelets of Royal Redemption. Coming out of AQ, 53 healing. That's fucking huge. But this is another one. It's a cloth item. You're going to be battling with all the shamans, all of the priest on this. So another alternative to look at, this is where you could keep the bracers on to try to maintain that 3 set. So you do lose 20 healing overall, which is a big deal. But if you're further down on the list to actually get the Royal Redemption, the Storm Rage bracers are good. Another set of bracers that would also be good is out of ZG. You could put these on, like if you're struggling to even get the Storm Rage bracers, you could go with the ZG ones. It's only 24, but if you get the 2-piece with that, that's an extra 4 mana per 5 seconds. So it's not massive. You're kind of piecing together a couple sets, kind of buying your time until, you know, it's your time to get the Royal Redemption. And at the big bad boy in the room, the Scepter of False Prophet. This main hand mace is huge. 187 healing, 3 mana per 5 seconds. Priests and druids are going to be battling this out. So obviously this is a fucking massive mace. So this is something I would try to put high up on my priority list, depending on what weapon you already have. But this one's pretty nice. Now, obviously in Nax, there's some that's going to be a little bit better. But this is one, I would battle for this one. Some alternatives. Out of Silithus, the Treasure of the Timeless One, you could have got the Fang. 121 healing. As you see, it's a very big drop overall, and you lose the mana per 5 seconds. But it's definitely not a bad one to get in the meantime. Staying with, out of the world bosses, you could have got the Staff of Rampant Growth. 84 and 11 mana per 5 seconds. You're losing a lot of healing overall going this route. But if you're struggling with mana overall, then it's a no-brainer. Because if you don't have mana during these longer encounters, you're useless. It doesn't matter how much healing you have if you can't heal because you're out of mana. So you really got to play around with some of these. It really comes down to what boss you're fighting, how long it's going to be fighting for, interchanging out items based off what boss you're actually fighting and what gear you actually have. So another great mace out of BWL is this bad boy, 84 healing. So, I mean, you figure that's as much healing as the staff, plus you get an offhand. So at bare minimum, I would shoot for this. Like I said, a lot of other people are going to be fighting for this one along with the Scepter of False Prophet. So it depends on where you're at within the DKP or Loot Council system. And for your offhand, everybody's going to want to get the Might, 51 healing, 5 mana per 5 seconds. That's also out of AQ 40. Another one that everybody's going to be going for. So someone that got the Scepter is probably going to be given the Might, so it completes their set. So bare minimum, you should be exalted with AV, getting the 53 mana, 3 mana per 5 seconds. As you see, this one gives you barely anything extra. I mean, you get a little bit more mana per 5 seconds. So I would put this very far down on my priority list, knowing I can get the one out of AV exalted. So this is such a minor upgrade that I would really care less. You get a little bit of intellect, but I wouldn't be fighting for this one. Pick your battles elsewhere. Now, as far as the idols, this is where you want to reduce the casting time of your healing touch by 0.15. That's definitely, I would recommend the best one overall, and that you get that out of AQ. You don't have to battle anything but druids. The other one would have been the Idol of Rejuvenation. The problem is, like I said, with the whole buff thing, you really don't get as much. You really want the Idol of Health if you can get your hands on it. Looking at the right side, we're looking at the Wasp High Gauntlets. These ones are very nice at 53 healing overall. For gloves, that is great. Runner up, if you're struggling with mana, you're looking at the Gloves of Messiah. There's a couple good ones. Instead of the gauntlets, if and you're not struggling with mana, this is where I would probably go the Storm Rage Handguards. So realistically, I would probably go chest, bracers, and gloves as far as keeping the 3-piece while you're getting the other ones. As those slots, there's a high chance that you're going to fall down the tier on actually getting those items. So that's a great substitute. In the meantime, that's 42 healing compared to 53, and you get the 15 mana over or 15% mana regeneration while casting. So that'd probably be the way I went. Like I said, if you're not worried about mana regeneration, short fights, yeah, throw on the gauntlets. You're going to have much better burst with it. Looking at the belt, this is one that everybody's going to be going for also. The Grasp of the Old Gods. 59 healing, 7 mana per 5 seconds. This is coming off Cthulhu. So yeah, you're going to be fighting with everybody for this one. This one's going to be a very tough one to get. And as far as alternatives, there's not any that are obviously that great comparing. So as an alternative, you could get the Core Helm belt. This would be, I think, pretty much bare minimum that you actually go with, especially because you can just craft it and buy it. 62 healing, a little bit more, but the 7 mana per 5 seconds is a pretty good loss overall. So not the best, but a hell of a secondary one that you should bare minimum get. Some other great ones that you can get out of AQ. You can also get the Regeneration Belt, 55 healing, or even the Stash of Mercy, which is one of the world drops that you could also buy. So there's lots of belts that you can buy in the meantime. They're all good as far as plus healing. It's just the mana per 5 seconds is massive. That's why everybody's going to be fighting for that one. Now looking at the best in slot for your legs. Empowered Leggings, 77 healing, 1% crit. These are some great raw healing overall. Now, once again, if you are struggling with mana, subbed in the Pants, which is 48 healing, 6 mana per 5 seconds. So it's a very good bit less healing, and you lose the crit. Also out of MC, you could go with the 51 healing, 9 mana per 5 seconds. So I would highly recommend at least going with these ones over the actual set piece. But you see how much you lose, 16 healing overall, but gain 9 mana per 5 seconds. So on burst fights, short fights, I would use these. Long fights, I would use these. Moving on to the boots. The boots, we're looking at the Boots of Pure Thought. 62 healing. That's huge for boots. There are some other decent boots, nothing even close to that one overall out of AQ. You could also get these ones that are 37 healing. One of the World Dragons dropped 32 healing, 5 mana per 5 seconds. Not terrible with the mana per 5 seconds. But as you see, there's really nothing that compares to the amount of healing, raw healing you get out of these Boots of Pure Thought. They're cloth though, so you're going to be battling with everybody once again. As far as rings, we're looking at Ring of Martyr, 51 healing, 5 mana per 5 seconds. This is a massive ring out of AQ. The mana per 5 seconds is just fucking great, and the overall healing is good. At bare minimum, you should have the categorizing band, which is out of MC 46, but you lose the mana per 5 seconds. That's why the Ring of Martyr is so good. As another option, you could also be looking at the Signet, which is the rep ring, 28 healing, 5 mana per 5 seconds. So you lose a ton of overall raw healing, but you still maintain the mana per 5 seconds. So I would think almost like a bare minimum is you either have the categorizing band, the Signet, and the Rose Wine Circle would be like your 3 good options. Now your best in slots are going to be your Ring and Martyr, Pure Band. Now moving on to the Trinket. This one is always a tricky one. Everybody always comments on. I'm not going to go over every single fucking trinket there is in the game. Obviously, these are the trinkets that I think are very great trinkets overall, and these ones are going to be less active ones. So you could definitely put a ZG trinket where you activate it, then swap to Rejuvenation Gem right before the fight starts. I know that's not ideal, but if you really wanted to maximize the overall time, if you plan on a lot of burst damage in the beginning. So there's so many different solutions as far as what the fight is, what you need to do with it. But the Rejuvenation Gem is just a fucking powerhouse of a trinket. Out of BWL, 66 healing, 9 mana per 5 seconds. One of the best trinkets in the game, and everybody's going to be fighting for it. And as you see, as the second best in slot, the Druid one, which you get out of ZG, reduces, when you activate it, reduces the casting of Healing Touch by 40% and reduces the mana cost by 5% for 15 seconds. And with the trinket for the second best in slot, you could put the bracers on like I spoke of, which would give you that two set bonus, giving you an extra 4 mana per 5 seconds while you're waiting for the Bracelets of Royal Redemption. So to talk about a couple of the other trinkets that you could possibly get, like a bare minimum would be the Royal Seal, 44 healing. That's a nice easy quest one out of the Dire Maul. You could go with the Mind Tap Talisman, 11 mana per 5 seconds if you're just really struggling on mana. Same with the Shard of Scale. That's 16 mana per 5 seconds out of the Oni layer. That one I have yet to really see drop very much. And to see if you're still paying attention, the Drake Fang Talisman, because why not give that to the Healing Druid? I mean, you never know. He might have to shift into a bear and hit something every once in a while. So I definitely recommend giving him this trinket because it's so important. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Love to hear your thoughts below. If you would have put something different in one of the slots I mentioned, tell me why, what your thoughts are behind all of that. I'm not the best druid healer, obviously. I just try to do a lot of research these videos and give as much knowledge as I've researched to someone that might be starting out as a druid healer and kind of what to aim for as they go along their adventure. But if you have ever seen any of my opening videos, I spent 3,600 gold to open 40 sacks of spoils. So check in the top right corner, make sure you check that video out. And as always, guys, game on.